Good day and welcome back to the Student StarCraft AI tournament. We have got something of a proxy thing going on where the scouting probe of the Locutus is placing not one but two pylons. Wow, that's pretty impressive. And right upon encountering that, there are 5 SCVs of iron bots departing from the base, and I don't know why that is, but 4 of them are heading straight for Locutus' base while the other one is moving straight off. So one pylon does get killed and the other one also gets sort of shut down. The scouting probe itself got killed as well, so that's very unfortunate, and now the SCVs are in among the workers, so that was a bit of a timely response. And the waiting is now for one of the combat units of Locutus to help and stop this harassment, because as we know, Ironbot has got this SCV harassment thing from Stone, and the SCVs are a little bit hesitant right now, so that doesn't really seem to work as well as it could have. And now with the wall, this poor Marine can't really get out, and both players can get back to normal, with the Goon cleaning up the SCV threat. And worker-wise, the Locutus is a little bit down, but it's not too bad, because a lot of workers of Irons have been out here and are being killed as we speak. So there goes the one. And the other one is not safe as well, so that will take a while as well. And now the pressure is on at the choke of Ironbots, and Ironbot is going for 2 goons, and of course that SCV won't make it back. But these goons have got some issues making it up the ramp, and I don't know why that is, because Ironbot's army value was exactly 0, and with 1 vulture behind a solid wall wouldn't do much good anyway. So the Locutus setting up shop with a second Nexus, going for what looks like to be some kind of Templar tech, and that's a lot of tech buildings. So we'll go and find out what that is in a minute. And the soft contain with 3, soon to be 4 goons is okay-ish, only 2 gateways. Wow, we've got Templar tech and something else, so that will be worth waiting for. The question is, when will Iron lift this barracks and try to make a sortie with all these vultures and try to get some map control back? Right now, we've got spider mines prepping, vulture speed prepping, goons got range, no tanks yet, and that might really be, might come in handy. Oh wow, and we've got a Robo Bay as well as a Templar Archives, as well as another gateway, and the probe count is pretty low for the Locutus considering it's 2 bases. Oh, and here come the vultures, and they immediately start laying mines. The goons have got no choice but to move back out, and Locutus, what can it do? There are 2 turrets over here, so that should help a little bit, but these goons get surrounded and shut down, and this one can't really do much with 10 vultures, so that's going to be a little bit of a problem. And now, oh, did you see that? A couple of DTs got picked up by that one shuttle, and this one goon is trying to do what it can, but the probe numbers are going to be severely depressed in the near future. Although, oh, between the cannons, the run-by didn't succeed as well as it could have, but now the entire map's littered with mines. These vultures of Irons are still so aggressive, but we've got, how many have we got? We've got 4 Dark Templars and no scouting bots. Oh, we've got 1 turret over here, but unfortunately, as there is no natural and there is no detection over there, this pretty much is the game, because although there is a large Terran army out on the map and there are a lot of mines, ooh, that was a tank, that's sloppy. The command center is down, there is no more money, and there are 6 workers somewhere, but they don't really do much at this point. And with the Observer and the goons, I think that Locutus has got this in the bag, as they say. So, that said, that was a pretty effective demonstration of how effective a drop is versus an opponent which does not anticipate or counter drops, and that's a silly way to use an Observer, but the damage is done. So, yep, there we go. And immediately taking this expansion just for spite, I believe. And Ironbot's done for, so well done by Locutus. And that brings me to the rankings, because as you can see, where Locutus overtook Crazio for 2 points in well, a little while, Crazio of course came back strong. And now Crazio reigns supreme once more with a win rate of 88%. and Locutus has fallen down a little bit. With where's the ELO rating? It's almost 150 points below that of Crazio, and almost on the same level with Ironbot, Purple Wave. And then the next gap is between the rest of the pack, starting with Killabot, so pretty good there. This game, of course, is over. This is pretty BM, just taking this base over here. So next game up will be Sorenklet's Whopper versus Eric Hammer. And Eric Hammer is going to have to play a good game, because as Terrans go, Whopper can defend with the best of them. It's basically like Crazio in its early days, very defensive, but when that push comes, it's very, very strong. And if we are lucky, and Eric Hammer can't stop the push before it gets rolling, then we'll have a small chance of battlecruisers as well. So where Crazio's got the flying buildings, Whopper does things with the battlecruiser for air support. And there you go, natural up and running. As you can see, the worker count for Eric Hammer is okay, and these Hydras are taking their sweet time killing the SCVs. So now 4 Hydras, lots of workers, and Eric Hammer in this long intermezzo, Whopper staying on one base for a very long time, are now going to check that out. And of course, with the tank over there and a bunker and these 3 vultures, there is not much you can do with 3 Hydras. So take a 3rd base, always a good decision. And let me have a peek at the upgrades. We've got siege mode and spider mines, and we've got our Hydra range speed and overlord speed soon to be done. And the odd Hydra will be constructed as well. Production tab looks like this: spires, Hydras, infrastructure, and lots of drones. And Whopper is just going to make a lot of units. And Whopper might also be thinking about taking in a 3rd base, because Eric Hammer's already got the 4th operational. Worker count is rather low. Eric Hammer doesn't have as many in-base hatcheries as some of the more Gosu Zerg bots have, like Killer, like Cherry Pie, Tisimu. And now trying to keep that minefield in check a little bit with the Overlords. That cloak raid doesn't really have much of a chance. And you can see just behind. Oh, that is a bit of a bloodbath. And that was the entire army of Eric Hammers cleaning up the mines, but losing all the Hydras to the tanks. So pretty silly. But then again, this wouldn't be the most beautiful sports in the world if the bots didn't do something quite silly occasionally. And I'd say that Eric Hammer is still in a pretty good position. 44 workers, 5th base starting, and Whopper is still not moving out, and that means that we've got a lot of tech over here. And Whopper's tank count is not such that it can contend with the entire map yet. It should do something quite soonish, because although Eric Hammer's got a very tiny army, the map control is Eric Hammer's at the moment, and his worker count is slowly rising. And Whopper is losing stuff left and right, and again these Hydras let themselves be lured in by either mines or the vultures in this instance, and all die, so this army's pretty small. Then again, lots of vultures and raids are killed as well. So for the time being, a sort of equilibrium, which will soon spin wildly out of control as these bases will get online. Whopper's main is about halfway down, and the worker count is exactly equal. Difference being that Whopper's got 6 bases, and Eric Hammer's got 6 bases, and Whopper's got 2. But Eric Hammer is throwing units away like a madman, and only killing a handful of vultures, doing a little bit of damage to raids. And this defensive position of Whoppers is just too strong. But look at what's happening to the map. The worker count is still and slowly rising, but yeah, it's exceeding that of Whoppers at the moment, and the main is getting low, and that will be a huge problem. All bases have got this one sunken for defense, and moderate tech over here. Production tab for Eric Hammer looks like this. There are still drones being made, lots of muters and hydras, and as far as wacky unit compositions go, that's pretty much it. But in the end, there are only 5... Oh, and there we go. 5 Goliaths and a battlecruiser, so that's not too bad. Problem though is that Whopper, took a 3rd, that's pretty good. Snuck one SCV out there. And more Goliaths are rolling up to the battlefield. But you can't lose units like this. A couple of tanks got sniped, rolling out too far ahead. And of course, yeah, there we go, another tank. The problem is the production tab of Eric Hammer. It looks exactly like this, and that's a lot of Hydras, and they're coming in from all angles, so that's going to be a major problem. And all the tech in the world. And Eric Hammer is stopping this push dead in its tracks just by sheer force of rallies. This base got shut down, and that base is in the process of being shut down as well. The main 4 Whopper is out, and now it will be a hard fight. I don't know who recommended this, but it's a pretty good match if you like a ZVT smackdown. So the Mutas are still on top. Let's look at the upgrades. They are okay-ish. Terran upgrades looking good. Yamato's being started. Unfortunately, that won't be of much use. And there we go. Still not much room behind these bridges for Whopper. And the third is sort of there. That's good. Oh, and the Hydras, they take such a pounding from the mines and from the tanks. But Whopper's army is so small, it's dipping below 40, and I doubt it will get any higher in the near future. Oh yeah, there it is. 42. 44. Pretty good, but now that the third is down, the Mutas are all over it again, and you can see that it's going to be a bit of a misery, although a lot of units are getting killed. But here come the Hydras, and look at the mines. There are so many mines, but the Overlord overhead. And you can see this army of Whoppers is holding strong. The combat value is so good, the combat micro is excellent. The sad fact of the matter is, though, that there are way too many Hydras, and now the entire army is overrun. And if you look at the production tab, it's a bit of a Terran nightmare. There's so much stuff coming in. Ultra Defiler Mount and all these units. And Whopper's doing what it can, but the Natural's down, the main is out, and the map is awash with Zerg with 75 workers. And I dare say nearly all the bases taken. And that is the game, as they say. So let's not get too deeply into that. That's a wacky unit composition. All Hydras, and now a lot of Zerglings as well. Upgrade-wise, you can see that Zerg's really making everything it can. Consume, Broodling, everything's there, but this game is over, and let's hop into the next one. It's Hannes Bradberg versus Mad Mix Protoss. And I like, with all the recommendations I've been getting, that it's not only the top bots, but it's so very easy to focus on large-scale macro games or Gosu stuff. We saw Lacutas with a nice DT drop. That's pretty good, and I like to see that. But these large lumbering TVZ, ZVTs, that's just well, it's so easy to fit a broadcast with those. So I'm actually pretty glad that I got to cast this game. It is a Forge first, then eventually perhaps. Is there going to be... Well, there is nothing. Well, that's... As far as wacky build orders goes, this is pretty wacky, I'd say. We've got a lot of cannons all over the place, we've got a lot of probes, we've got 4 bases started already, and all of them are making probes. So probes and cannons seems to be the diet for... oh dear, and now the Marines are up there. This base doesn't seem to be long for this world. Here come the Marines, but another Nexus has been taken already. And you can see, oh, gateway, hello, that's pretty cool. And more cannons in random places, but this base is about to be shut down. But Hannes Bradberg's Marines have got some issues with their firing control. They will start to, they try to reach the, that's pretty wacky. But still a lot of Marines, and that's always good. So Hannes Bradberg, of course, likes to play nukes, but we'll need a couple of bases for that, and I think that a static setup with the Protoss, with all the cannons, is just providing a perfect playing field for that. And these were, I don't hope they were gateways, because that's a silly place for them. But finally some tech from Mad Mix Protoss. And all the buildings in really wacky places. This base gets spared for some reason, but here comes the infantry. And upgrade-wise, range starting and +1 armor, no stim yet. That's pretty strange. But then again, the academy can only do one thing at a time. So yeah, there we go. Another base being left unmolested. Somewhat the shield's taken off, but that's about it. And now the goons and the probes are being sent in to contend with this crawling mass of Marines and a couple of medics. So that's not going to go well, and I think this time the Nexus will be up for it. and a third base being taken by Bredberg. So what else is happening at the end of Mad Mix? Lots of gateways. That's good, because without gateways it's very hard to play a well, the word concerted PvT is not really appropriate in this game, I would say, because the building placement is so completely whack. It's this set is just marching straight into the mineral line, and Marines are not doing anything about. Oh, one's returning fire or firing. That's pretty good. And now the Marine host is moving back. We've got almost 100 supply in pure Marines with a couple of medics, so that's pretty strange. And here comes the COVID ops, and this is going to be another COPSAT. So I think that the next expansion will have a nuclear silo, and we'll see what will come off of that. We've got a robo bay over here, an army is prepping over there. That's pretty cool, because Bredberg's just topped 100, and you need a large gateway army to try and stop that. Another gateway coming up, and the probe count for Mad Mix is extremely high, but here comes, oh wow, here comes the death push of the Marines with the medics. Well, there are a couple of medics, but they are really far behind, and now the Protoss army is totally ignoring that. The fourth, I think it is under attack, and this one cannon is going to do a lot of damage, especially with a couple of zealots, but in the end Marines will just push through, taking a lot of casualties in the process, but that's okay. And these 5 goons can do a lot of damage, especially to the ghosts, which are not returning fire or cloaking. So that will be pretty painful. This one's got a couple of medics on its tail, so should be okay. Mad Mix now down to 3 bases. Got a bit of an army, that's good. Got very little technology, or it must be positioned somewhere in a wild position like over here. And another base by Bredberg, and immediately a zealot is on it. So I like that, just pestering with stray zealots, because you can easily stop the construction of a command center like this. And there you go. And this one is pretty much in trouble as well, but then comes the main army, and it's going to be a mess. And this is going to be the first silo, so should be okay. Oh, we've got a scout. The ghosts in the middle of the map, they take on the scout, and they just about not kill it. And oh, that was a lockdown, missed that. Oh, another lockdown, so pretty good. And I'd say with all the goons, oh, and 4 lockdown goons, how often do you see that? Someone please make a screenshot of that. I'm not going to. And you can see with all the ghosts, everything's getting locked down and shot to pieces by these beautiful Marines, and all kinds of bases all across the map. The silo is flashing, that's good. More barracks you can see. There are a lot of barracks for a player which goes pure bio. That's a good thing, I think. And the Marine host is just unstoppable at this point, with a lot of ghosts in the rear. About 1/3 of that population is in ghosts, and you can see that these Marines and medics make short work. This is absolutely horrendous kind of building placement. But there is a DT out, and that might keep the Marine numbers somewhat down-ish. Scan goes off, the ghosts have got everything well under control. The gateway army is just melting at this point. So I need to have the unit tab open, because I need to know when the nukes are actually there, and then try to catch one being fired. This strange building placement cantonment is being shredded by the Marines, and this base is being overrun as well, so that's pretty good. We've got 2 nukes, that's good as well. We've got 1 Dark Templar, and it's doing its utmost, and the Zealots, of course. Oh, the Marines are just moving, that's pretty bad. Oh shit. Okay, so a nuke was launched to somewhere. Is it here? I'll slow down to normal speed. Not here, probably. Is it there? It's really hard to see, but one nuke got launched somewhere, and I'll try to catch it, but it's very hard to do so. And the Dark Templars are keeping the Marine numbers down, only 51 supply, but Bredberg's got so many forces. And although one base is being torn down by an expeditionary force, this game's spinning wildly out of control. Neither player can establish any kind of dominance, and Marines are just so wacky that they have the greatest difficulties in fighting off a handful of gateway units. Now, Mad Mix, with these stray expeditionary forces just rolling up bases all across the map, army supply-wise, it's doing pretty good. Oh, and that was a nuke, and only a couple of units got killed, so that's a pity. And now there are no more. Oh, there is one silo over here. So long as this base is operational, it will be okay. But Protoss is getting the better of the map, I believe. Another base getting taken down, that's not the worst. But the problem for Bradberg at this time is that the main is out, the natural's low, and there is harassment going off all over the place, so that's difficult. Now, this bio army still poses a considerable threat with the long range of the ghosts, and of course the firepower with the marines. And then again, without the medics, it can be quite a painful exercise. But here comes a small, this could be a containment which Matmix cannot elude. Here comes another nuke, and that's another base operational. So we'll have two bases. Should do something about this zealot though. The SUVs just do just that. And I'd say this game is Bradberg's to take. To lose, and Matmix will have to pull a gigantic white rabbit out of its hat to make something work. The ghosts have got everything well under control. This Dark Templar can do a lot, but every time it hits one, it will cloak immediately, and then it will get scanned and killed. So unfortunate. Then again, you could just ignore the other ghosts and the marines, so that won't really work. This cannon will not be constructed properly, and Matmix is out of money as well, so that's not good. More bases are being constructed by Terran, and although there are still some DTs out on the map, let's watch a little bit longer, perhaps we get to see another nuke. So here we go, these two goons ain't got shit on that Terran army. Matmix now officially mined out. Oh, and we've got one over here. There you go, nice observer, caused damage down to buildings. And from here on in, it's just going to be insult and injury to Protoss because Matmix is no longer capable of stopping this onslaught. And although the VTs, the harassment's pretty good. That must be said. Even the natural's under fire, and the third is somewhat depopulated. But I think in the end, and we'll have to let this play out until the end. In the end, I think that the Terran army is now too big, and perhaps there is... Oh well, there is no comset left actually. This one is a silo and there is a scout overhead. So there is still a chance that these Dark Templars might do the honors and kill the entire base. And look at how fast they chew through that Terran army. That's absolutely insane. Terran army supply is plummeting to 0 right now, and that's going to be a small problem. With the long distance mining, I think that Matmix could generate some income and restart the game from there, but it's not doing so. Might work, but you've got 6 DTs and 1 scout going to town on stuff. And for all the nice nuke play, I don't think that Bradberg's going to win this game. We've got one command center over here, and there are minerals for another SUV, but for some reason it's not really restarting at this point. So let's see if the enemy will be found. How is the scouting coming off? It's just going to be a tour of all the known base locations, I believe. And the scout will probably find this somewhere. DT has found it, and with a nice comeback, Matmix takes the game of Hennes Bradberg with a couple of stray DTs, saving the game for it. So, more recommendations. I got Delingvery versus Jacob Tranchik, and we all know what Jacob likes to do. Jacob will probably just post a pylon over here, and a pylon over there. Oh, and it can't because there is creep. Oh, here we go, at the edge of the creep. And then a forge, and then a couple of cannons. So, I think this will be cut short. But will there be... No, it's all empowered, and that's going to be that. Now, the problem is that Delingvery is not a very experienced fighter, but with all the probes, I'd say it's pretty good. And now, Jacob Tranchik, instead of an offensive cannon thing, it's going to play defensive. And if Delingvery is only going to build Zerglings, it might develop into a little bit of a problem, but you can see this fortress will soon be completely impractical for Zerglings. And here come the Zerglings, and they nibble a bit at this front cannon, but then again, nothing much else is happening. Base is being taken by Delingvery, that's good. One cannon getting shut down. Tranchik has got a lot of cannons, but it's building it right in the wrong location, but still these workers are somewhat protected. Unfortunately is that the mineral line is completely wasted by all these buildings, and you can see that damage will be done, will be Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. And look at the worker count for the Livery. It's now 12. It's got a lot of bases, but as long as the worker count doesn't rise significantly, it's not going to be that much of a problem. And with all the cannons being added in the vicinity of this mineral line, it's going to be okay. So let's speed it up a notch. You can see still 12 workers, so no economic lead being gained by the Livery. And Jacob Tranchik is building cannons upon cannons. It will take a while, but eventually this cannon thing will move all the way up to here, and then you've got a high ground versus low ground cannons versus Zerglings, and then it's completely balls up from up there. So more cannons. All the bases being taken in the world, but the work count is pretty crappy for Zerg, and Zerg is not building anything else and hasn't got the money for another hatchery. Oh dear, oh dear, I missed that. The Zealot Expeditionary Force is going to cut things to pieces. Because once the cannon thing sort of stops, Jacob Tranchik thinks, well, let's do a little bit of Zealotish things. And now you can see that all the workers will be wasted and the spawning pool as well. So you're probably going to see the same thing in Matrix as in Matrix Protoss versus Hamlet Redberg. If you persevere through the end, it's going to work out just fine. The question is, will the Livery restart? And it looks like it will, but where will it build a spawning pool, and will it then? The Zealots are just being sent into the main base, nothing much else is happening, and Tranchik just going to stream Zealots right into the main. And the worker count is, well, it's higher than it used to be. So we've got 16 workers now, but we've got no spawning pool, we've got no technology. And the Livery is playing this mission where you need to make 10,000 minerals to win the game. And I think it's going to take a while. Oh, and Tranchik is now going to long distance mine. Now that's always a good trick to have in the book, because if you've got a weird game like this, you can continue to build units. You should do something else with them than just send them into the enemy main, and the Livery has now got 12k in the bank, 13k, and Tranchik's got an army supply of a lot and just leaves the game for some reason. The Livery wins on points or something. And I should slow it down just a little bit before slapping in the next game. And it's FIFA Legend Random versus Oprimo, and I thought, well, that was a nice game because Oprimo, of course, hasn't been updated in ages. And Mr. Legend has just received an update, so let's see how it goes. And this, of course, being random versus random, we are going to have to find out how things work. So you can see a lone Zealot, well, you could see if I had the camera on it. A lone Zealot and a handful of Marines, so both players not really being all that optimal. And there you go, playing rather defensive. This is a scout, and the rest is going to be about units. Small, I think it's going to be cannon. Yep, defensive cannon, some middle technology, and a couple of units. And Legend is just going for a lot of Marines, but it hasn't really got that many workers, so that will be hampering it throughout this game. And Oprimo is going for the well-known composition of Scouts and Dragoons. Will we have Dark Templars as well? Because then we would have a stove, but then we are not that lucky, it seems. And Legend is even keeping one of its 6 SCVs occupied with standing around doing damn all. At this point it hasn't even got enough SCVs to keep one barracks happy. And there goes the invincible army of the Marines. Another depot is being constructed, but still no more workers, so that's going to be rather painful. This army, I think, by the time the Terrans find it, the Scouts can almost do it by themselves, and Oprimo is happily mining out this pain without getting much done. Here come the Scouts and the Goons, and that was the end of that. A natural expansion by Oprimo, that's pretty good. And still Legend doing everything, all with 6 workers. And still gathering that large army. Oh, and a 3rd base for Oprimo as well. That's pretty sweet. Legend is, well, really messed up. And Oprimo has got a lot of tricks in the book, in the bag, and how do you say that again? But it's rather slow. But now it's got Templar, and Storm is prepping too. So this is probably the easiest game it's ever played in a long while. One goon doing away with 3 marines. Got the range, no upgrades on the part of Terran. And here comes the army. And if you look at the army count, it's a handful of marines versus Dark Templar, High Templar, goons and scouts. So this will probably be the game. And Legend, I thought... Oh dear! Oh, that depot really getting this time. Oprimo should fix that, but of course, no. That's the GG. Legend back to the drawing table, and Oprimo a decent victory with a cool storming of that depot. Next game up will be Proxy versus Egbert, and both players have been recently updated, and I'll need to show you this. Update-wise, it's been rather hectic, because it's now the 1st, and until about a week from now, we had about 10 bots which are being updated regularly, and that's always good to see. And Crazio got an update as well, and that's always good to see, and of course it shows. Crazio, the most stable bot on top for the longest of times, and is kicking ass like a madman. So, and I don't think I'll have a game of him this week. No, I won't. Perhaps if you've got time left we will do so, but for now I won't. And now Egbert is going to try to get its game together. There's a lot of potential, but no really killer strats or killer tactics yet. And defensive, it's doing okay. So Proxy is playing tag with the scouting SCV in the main. I always like to see that, no matter how long I've been doing this, and I've been with the tournament almost 4 years, more than 4 years now. So that's pretty good, and this game of tag never ceases to amuse me. So Egbert going rather slowly, and of course that's the academy, that's pretty good. Third base up for Proxy, and still this scouting SCV has not been tagged sufficiently to be dead. And these Zerglings, yeah, there it is. These Zerglings, they just keep chasing it. Oh, and the drone got a bite in. Always nice to have a little bit of a SCV blood on your tongue before you start chewing minerals for the rest of your life. And perhaps you might even be morphed into, I think that's the Zergling speed kicking in. Yep, there we go. Couple of upgrades. And Egbert is really rather slow. It's a one base thing with a lot of tech of, well, only one base income. That's not good at all. You've got the high ground down pat, I give you that, but oh, and that's pretty good, making the third in a somewhat safer location. The problem is that your eco is too slow and too soft for a Zerg, which will eventually take the entire base. This is already the 5th base, 4th base is not yet done. Worker-wise, Proxy is about doubling Egbert. This is Egbert's time with the Marines, with the medics, with a couple of upgrades. Oh, +1 isn't even done, that's very slow. But we got Stim, we got Siege Mode, and the Hydras, they are really hesitant, and they should roll up this Terran blob. And by now there are so many drones awash on the map. Fraction tab wise, it looks like this. Lots of drones and losing one base, so Egbert doing okay. Now with the third up and running-ish. Might even transfer some workers because he got 27. That's a lot for one base. And that's one base down, so that's pretty good. Lots of drones lost, and now Zerg is going to have a bit of this. But with the bunker and the tank, priority should have been given to chasing of this marine army, destroying the, I don't know how many base it was, but Proxy is exploding right across the map, and Egbert only a handful of marines at this base without gas. It's going to be rather slow going, and the Hydras mop up the retreating Terran mob, and that's just not going to be good. Building placement wise, not ideal either. And Egbert is really rather slow. It would be much better to take the bunker over here, or just 2. Then you'd have the automatic access to the natural. And yeah, you can do this all day long. But the real problem is that your third will soon be spotted, or your natural, really, at the location of a third, by a drone coming over there to try and mine it. And worker-wise, Proxy is doubling Egbert at this point. And with pure Hydras, it's pretty hard to fight this kind of Terran thing, but it's trying regardless, and you can see how many Hydras it costs to only deplete the energy of the medics. And Egbert, if you start playing off 2-3 bases, oh, you should be careful here. Don't run as much. You really rather want to fight and keep that tank alive. And now Egbert is in a world of trouble, because although the army sizes are comparable, Proxy is in possession of the entire map, save these bases, and here you see what happens. If this drone comes to take this base, Proxy will send a handful of units to try and stop that. And I think that with a couple of tanks and this bio thing, you can stop as many Hydras as you want forever. And here we've got the same problem. The base being found, a handful of Zerglings being sent over, the SCVs don't even defend themselves, and there is no support whatsoever. This base will be taken down and immediately claimed by the Zerg, and then the Zerg will have all the bases. That will be pretty cruel. The main fort turret is mining out rapidly. Third is being torn down at record speed. The Zerg is now run, I don't know why. And Proxy is... what's Proxy doing? Building a lot of Zerglings. Well, that's a lot of Zerglings, oh god. So the army composition will soon consist of a hell of a lot of Zerglings and some more Zerglings, and you can see them streaming in from all angles of the map. This base will be torn down, but will the main base suffer before that? The bunker got torn down as well, and immediately the natural taken. This is such a macro-hungry Zerg. It is insane. So, Proxy's not even maxed now, it's still building a lot of Zerglings, and they have captured the ramp so they could move up there relatively easily. You can see army composition is now 110 Zerglings, a couple of Hydras, and the larvae. Oh, well, the Overlords. There is a supply block. It's only building one Overlord at a time, and once you've got the entire map, you can just build 10 Overlords and be done with it. But that's the game. Proxy laying down the Zerg law, and Egbert struggling to get the macro game going. So next game up will be Magrave Zerg versus Toothpick Cactus, and I thought, well, that's pretty good too, because Toothpick Cactus also got an update, and Magrave Zerg's pretty good by itself, so perhaps a good game. And after this I'll only have 2 more games, one recommendation, and a large macro game of which I saw the end, but now not how it came to be, so I thought, well, I should have that as well in my broadcast. Normally I only cast games which I haven't seen at all, but occasionally I'll make an exception if I pop into the stream and I see a game which is wildly out of control with all kinds of cool stuff going off, and I think, well, perhaps we should be looking at how this came to pass, and that's something I like as well. Now, Toothpick, going for a interesting constellation with the gas mining, that should be said. Now going for command center, that's good. Handful of Marines and some more Marines, and Zerg is going to build a lot of hatcheries. Might be going for some kind of a Ling rush. We've got the speed. Would expect a... oh, that's pretty cool. Third base started already, and now Toothpick has got 2 bases. Compared to Egbert, Toothpick is the younger bot, but it has got a better game plan with the natural closer, defending it with the Marines and the medics. That's pretty cool. Building placement looks a little bit sharper as well. Not as much sprawling, but just keep it tight, but keep it navigable so the units won't get stuck. That's pretty good. And now the Terran is going to stim into a couple of Zerglings, and that's going to be a hell of a lot of Zerglings. Should not move out too much. And to be honest, I don't know if this was a recommendation or I selected this game myself, but in any event, it looks to be a pretty cool game with Magrave Zerg taking a lot of bases, having not too many workers, but building a lot of Zerglings, and production tab is going to be about a lot of Zerglings, and you can see here just building a couple of Overlords at the same time. Now, Toothpick has got this bio thing, and Stim is there with the medics, and the range will be there as well. So once +1 hits, if it's going to build +1, should build +1 if you go to make anything happen with the Marine strat, and the Zerglings now start roading. The worker count for Magrave Zerg's pretty low, and I think that's what's keeping Toothpick in the game right now. But with all these new hatches, production tab, yeah, that's a fat round of drones, and that will be a major problem, because although the Terran army is stronger and larger, part of it is still over here. The only tank is posted up there, and you need to make something happen, because otherwise there's going to be a multitude of Zerglings. And now we've got 34 workers, lots of bases taken, production tab, still more workers coming up, and of course a couple of evos, and that will mean upgrades which will be started soon-ish. +1 air weapon, and there you go. The upgrades foreground is going to be a dedicated Zergling tactic, and now It seems like Toothpick let slip a couple of Marines off the main command hook, and it got torn to shreds by these Zerglings. Immediately a third taken by Cactus, that's good. And in an okay position. So Cactus is apparently... Oh wow, that's a lot of drones. Cactus is doing well, McGrave is doing well, and this game is just a little bit snappier, and where Proxy went for a mass Hydra thing. I think this is going to be all about the Zergling. Oh, now with a muter switch, at least 2 muters. Composition, no muters yet, so with 2 muters, 3, 4, 5 muters, oh hello, and more workers. McGrave now at 73 workers, and this Wraith can kill as many Zerglings as it can. Soon it will have some other unit to contend with, namely the muter. We've got 5 now, with only 1 Wraith, and we'll keep an eye on this unit tab to see it mounting. We've got 10 now. And with 83 workers, all the economy in the world is in the hands of McGrave Zerg, and these Marines are doing an excellent job. The problem is that McGrave Zerg is going to have so much money and so much units, it will be unfair forever. And now, have we got... No, we haven't got. And McGrave Zerg should be careful though, because these Marines will be upgraded. Yeah, there we go, with +1. And the army size is so large that the Zerg really should stop throwing units away like this. It's just not happening. Taking a lot of bases can be fun, but if you've got a 77 supply army with a lot of bio, with stint Marines all over the place, you can see what it's going to do to your Zerg efficiency. The army size for McGrave Zerg is about half, and that's not the worst, but once this blob starts rolling and hits bases, it's going to be pretty ugly. Now McGrave with 93, 95, going for 100 workers. I hope it's capped, otherwise it's going to be all about workers and there will be no army supply left, or supply left for army. And I would say that 100 workers is about the absolute max that anyone should ever have. Now these Wraiths and Marines are doing a murderous job on all the ground units. And Toothpick Cactus defended that small incursion over here, which I totally missed, gallantly. And now the main army is 100 supply, it's 4 times as strong, and that's not even considering combat value. There are no lurkers, there are 3 Sunkens, but compared to the massive Marines, which is going to be over here. And now the rallies are being somewhat attacked by not really. And Toothpick is keeping his army rather well together. And now is going to be moving into this base over here. It seems like it's only on 1 leash, so it gets attacked. You can see the entire army turn right around and deal with the perceived threat. And now the Hydras and the Muters have got the sore task to do something about that. Work count from McGrave is dropping, not precipitously, but lost 15 of 10 and is rebuilding more. That said, the army composition for Zerg is not optimal at all, and this is where it's dangerous, because if this Terran army doesn't get stuff done quick, Zerg will immediately build so many units. The production tab of Zerg, this is what the production tab of a Zerg with all the map and 100 workers looks like. And Toothpick can do pretty well, but the main is out, the natural is not yet getting low, but really soon. And where is Terran going to take a third? That will be the question. And the production tab of Zerg will look like this and keep looking like this until either bases get taken out, and that is how you do it. Lots of Zerglings, and that's really insane. And Zerg can just throw away so many units, a couple of Sunkers for extra defense, and the Terran army is going to take such a pound, but it's still there and it is so strong, it's nearly maxed. Toothpick playing this brilliantly. This base being overrun now though. There are no there are some units left for to play home guard. And now this army gets overrun, that's not good. And that main army was saving this base, that's not good at all. And you can see the Zerg army supply is going to climb so quickly. And if it doesn't, it is because the units are being drowned in its Terran Death Ball, and the Terran Death Ball is holding strong 100 army supply. If you look at the composition, it's 50 Marines, a handful of medics, and some what must be classified as supporting units. So McGrave fighting hard, fighting to the hilt, but the unit composition is just too weak, and Toothpick Cactus is upgrading very, very well. Toothpick's problem though is taking a fourth, not mining out, and killing a Zerg base. Terran army is losing a little bit too. That's unfortunate, but it can't be avoided, especially if you are fighting such a hardy opponent as Margrave Zerg. And now it should be taking out the natural, but again, fighting units are being diverted to kill off a couple of stray units. That's not good at all. And then again, the main gets saved by all the rallies from all these hatches. There are so many hatches in the main that Margrave Zerg can afford to lose a lot of units if it just keeps those. Occasionally kills a marine, kills 2 marines, because the rallies are now being cut off. And there you go, the Terran army is faltering. The tanks are too far in the rear, there is too much supply in these tanks, and now this base is somewhat defended, but the Zerg units are overrunning it from every angle, and now the supplies are even, and you won't see that for very long because it's 51 versus 93 supply. Production tab is going to switch to Hydras. The Hydra is the unit of today. We saw Proxy do it earlier, and now we are going to see a lot more Hydras. Upgrade-wise, they are doing okay. We haven't got the weapons upgrade yet, and only +1 armor as of yet. Oh no, that's the other one. Oh, it's the +3 armor, so that's pretty good. And no superior tech from Margrave. Oh, we got the Greater Spire, we got the Queen's Nest, we got the Hive, but nothing's really doing in that regard. It's just zerging, 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 and the natural is getting low. There is no 4th base. The pressure is off Zerg at the moment, and now it's 80 versus 40 army supply. The 3rd is lifted because there is a large contingent of Mutas and a couple of Hydras in it, and that is not going to be very good at all. Zerg's army is spiraling right out of control. Only 90 workers now, but production tab still looks like this. Mutas, whatever, just throw it at the enemy, and if the enemy doesn't kill bases, doesn't secure a 4th, this bunker is doing some good damage, but it's going to be over. Zerg will prevail, and that will be a landslide victory. It is a hard-fought battle, but in the end there is no answer to this economy of 90 workers. The entire map has been taken, no production left. That's strange because you should build another overlord or a couple of units, or I don't know. And that was the game. GG. Wow, pretty good one. So, penultimate game for today. It's Egbert versus Pineapple Cactus. And Egbert is going to have to play pretty good because Pineapple also got an update, and I don't know if this game was a recommendation or I picked it because Pineapple Cactus, I like it as a recently updated Zerg. Haven't I done a game of Banana Brain this? Oh, that would be rubbish. Perhaps I'll slip in another game of Crazy versus Banana Brain just for good measure. The Zerg thing is going to be stopped in its tracks, but at the cost of a couple of workers and a lot of mining time, and that's really a lot of mining time lost. And a breakdancing SCP, so pretty good. So now Pineapple, what are you going to do? Build more Zerglings? No, build a couple of drones, try to restart this thing, but you will be far behind. And Egbert has got the worker lead, killed another Overlord as well. That's also going to hurt Pineapple a lot. Going now for a rather quick lair, especially considering you just failed a 4 pool. And going for some kind of Hydra play with Lurkers. Oh dear, that's pretty good. All of 1 base with a natural one. Egbert, really rather slow. If you are going to play Marine, just get a couple of Marines together and the medics, send them over, because the enemy combat value is going to be 0 for quite a long time. And you can see that over here. Egbert's got 26 supply, and the enemy's only got about 4. But with 2 Sunkens, you could easily bust 2 Sunkens with this. Oh yeah, and there goes the Terran push to defend the natural. Zerg taking a 3rd meanwhile, and is recuperating from that failed 4 pool remarkably well. Lurker aspect is done. Will we have some Lurkers? Doesn't look like it. Going for Spire as well. So build order-wise a little bit wacky, and you're going to pay for that because you haven't got an army, and there finally are the Marines with the medics, and they are going to shut things down so hard you won't really believe. So there goes all the tech, and yes, there is 1 sunken, but the army is 0, and that's not going to work at all. So Pineapple taking another base. Should be taking another base somewhere soon. Oh, and the main gets left alone. I don't know why Egbert is doing that. That's really strange. The overlords are evacuated. That's pretty cool. And now all the workers are going to be slapped down, and that is the game. Must be. Or isn't it? Because the main's still operational and Egbert is, well, is it going for the main or is it going for something else? It's building all kinds of buildings in the middle of the map and taking more bases, but the main of Zerg is still there. Strange as it is. And this thing over there is still there too. And I don't really know what's going on, but this hive was just within a sliver of death. And the spore is going to be down, and now the entire army is rolling up to the main. And for insult and injury, taking its sweet time, but that is that. Oh, last game. It's B-Reaver versus Proxy. And I think that was a recommendation, or I don't know. I really should keep track on who keeps recommending things and which game was recommended, so I won't be blamed for picking silly games myself. And I can always say, oh, it was recommended, don't blame me. So, B-Reaver going for a gateway first, then gas, then another gateway. And then the problem is that there is a large yellow contingent of Zerglings on the way, and we've only got one Zealot. That may be a little bit of a problem, as we demonstrated here. We've still got 5 left. The probes are coming off the line. One Zealot's coming off to help. I think that Protoss will hold this, but at significant cost of mining time lost and workers. Meanwhile, Proxy has got 2 bases up, and we saw earlier what happens if you get too many bases. If you give Zerg too many bases, but immediately a bit of counter pressure is being put on. Of course, there is a sunken, there will be soon there will be another. So, yeah, Proxy reading that expertly. And this, of course, giving B-Reaver a lot of time to recuperate, which it will need because it has got a very tiny army. Then again, Proxy hasn't got an army either, so sitting back behind 2 bases, what's Proxy doing? Building a lot of Hydras. So that should be okay, because we've also got a Corsair, and the Zealots will like a bit of Hydras to play with too. And the Corsair doesn't really get to harass many Overlords because it gets set on by these Hydras immediately. So, another Corsair going out to scout. This Overlord is seeing everything which is leaving the base of Protoss. That's pretty pro. And now a 3rd base being taken by Proxy, and this will be maybe bloody, because these Hydras can take down the Zealots, especially if the Zealots refuse to fight. Will there be any other units? Yes, there is a Reaver in a shuttle somewhere. Where is it? Oh, it's here, and it should be defending, because the Zealots obviously are not doing it. And here comes the Reaver, and Proxy is now starting a 4th base. It was spotted by this one Corsair, but the problem is, ooh, it should be rather careful to not lose that Reaver. And that's a rather silly way to lose a Reaver and a shuttle, especially if your natural's not yet up and running. And the enemy has already started its 4th base. So you can sort of see where this is going. The Reaver is doing okay, but not really hasn't really got the army to stop this Zerg thing. And this Zerg thing is spiraling out of control. There is a huge swath of Hydras chasing this one Corsair, which obviously is rubbish, because you'd rather have a couple of Scourge do it and do something else useful with these Hydras. And these ones are patrolling over here, or are they line dancing? Might be doing that as well. One to the front. This must be the beginner's class of the Zerg Line Dancing Association. And by now we've got 70 versus 33 workers. And although the Protoss natural is saturated, this Zerg thing is getting absolutely wild. And with a couple of Scourge to take down stray Corsairs, that might work even better, because this one Corsair is now pretty much occupying 50 army supply of Hydras. And it's doing so pretty expertly. And Banana Brain is taking up 2 Reavers and Dark High Templars. Have you got Storms? Storms are nearly done. The Reaver upgrade isn't, so that the increased capacity, so that might come in handy as well. And now the Corsair is, look at that army go, it's really insane. But once this Corsair falls, it means that 100 Hydras will tear right into the Terran main. Oh, and here comes some Zerglings to back that up. And still it's here over there. Oh, there is another. There are 2. Oh, and there were 2. That was a bit of a mishap. And you can see now where the problem is for Protoss. It is going to be a murder. And of course there are going to be a couple of Reavers and Storms. But at this point there are so many Hydras. It is insane, and still they are chasing a lone Corsair. There must be 50 Hydras occupied with one Corsair, and Reaver is trying a sortie, but it's not really going to work. Even an Archon can't stop that many units. The Reavers, though, are doing their utmost. The Zealots should be fighting a little bit harder. Oh, I think the Corsairs are dead, and you can see now this highway is pretty much Black Saturday on the French highways. It's completely blocked with Hydras. Production tab. Oh, we are switching into a fat round of Zerglings now. That's good as well. We've got a couple of Templars. Have they got Storm? Have they got the energy? They haven't got the upgrade, so they are pretty low. Perhaps they will be able to cast 1 or 2 Storms, but it won't matter really, because these 2 Reavers, they do everything they can. The Zealots are too cowardly to protect them. The Templar are going to cast a Storm, I believe, and no room to back off for the front Hydra, so that will probably be pretty bloody. Yeah, well, pretty much everything beneath that dies, but Zerg is going to tear straight into that. Lots of units all over the place, and Proxy, don't let it get up to speed, because it will do awful things to you. Now, that said, I think this was a nice, neat and short broadcast of this week. CIG deadline in about 2 weeks, and hopefully there will be many good entrants. We're looking forward to the games of that tournament. Oh, and yeah, nice rearguard storming action, but this pretty much is the game. Army composition: 113 Zerglings, 71 Hydras, and the GG. So thank you for watching, hope to see you again next week. For now, I say goodbye.